he came up there and everybody in the community had been saved except for these 3 men. Well,
We're live.
Can't do it.
2 of them came up.
Can't do it.
We're live.
It's all right. PG.
Well, I ain't gonna tell you. It's a good one. Y'all will really like it.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Vocations
Right
report,
there.
February the 11th. Madam Clerk, has this meeting been advertised and do we have a quorum?
Yes.
All right, then I would ask, part of the note on that, Magistrate Cullen is present and he will not be video teleconferencing. Glad to have you with us today, Magistrate Cullen.
You know.
Yeah. All right, I'll ask Magistrate Ellis if he
Someone's got to hold
will
up this side
do
of
the invocation.
Thank you, Judge. Please bow with me. Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, we're humbled in awe of your power, grace, and love. Entrusted to exercise decision-making on behalf of our constituents all throughout Boyle County, we bow in your presence as we seek your divine guidance throughout our proceedings today. Our tasks would be far too burdensome were it not for your Bible, profound wisdom gained in Judeo-Christian works of the Old Testament, as well as Christ's Gospels in the New. We call on you to take each of our magisterial roles, any small talents granted individually to us, and to meld our offerings into one, that the whole of our actions may well serve to the good of our constituents, our county, and to please and glorify your holy name. In the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Magistrate Ellis. You all will stand. We'll say our pledge of allegiance.
Chris has got to say it now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you may be seated. All right, first item of business is to approve the minutes from the January 28th. Have a motion to approve by Magistrate Cullen, second by Magistrate Sleeper. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. All right, approve budget transfers, Ms. Shannon.
We have budget transfers of $75,977.77.
Make a motion to approve the budget transfers.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Bodner, a second by Magistrate Cullen. Any discussion on the budget transfers? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Now we have our cash transfers.
$300,000 from general fund to jail, $150,000 from general fund to EMS, and $5,000 from general fund to fleet.
Make a motion we approve.
Motion by Magistrate Cullen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Sleeper. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, approve our bills. Ms. Elena?
Today's bill packet will total $2,121,219.51.
That's all?
That's all.
No, it isn't.
I move we pay the bills as presented.
All right, have a motion by Magistrate Gay,
Second.
second by Magistrate Cullen. Any discussion on the bills? All right, good deal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
And do want
Yes.
to make you all aware, we paid a Kentucky utility bill this month for the 225 North Stewart's Lane property. It was $12,401 for one of the buildings. They are on 2 separate meters. I just wanted you all to be aware of that. Now that was because we had some heaters running in there to keep the sprinkler systems from bursting. So we cut those down to half power and it still sucked that much. So hopefully if we can stay out of the cold snap, that won't happen.
And once we get transferred to our new HVAC system and we'll be running on gas instead of electricity, that should help the utility bill
Sure will.
decrease significantly,
I
yeah.
just want you all to be aware.
Yeah, that was just part of the bills. Thank you for
What
bringing
is
that to
the,
the
what is
court's
the square
attention.
footage of that space?
Mm,
I know.
I could not tell you. I'm nothing to do with
That's,
it.
I would ask later.
Yeah,
That's
Mark
fine.
could tell you, but
Yeah,
I'm not.
Mark could tell you off the top of his head, but I
that's fine.
can't. It's a big one.
It is.
It's a big one.
Thank you, Ms. Elena. Okay, under old business, Julie, are you presenting?
Yes.
Second reading of the ethics ordinance 280.5.
Yes, the only change to the ordinance is to remove the sentence requiring elected officials to file the year after their term concludes.
So move to approve the second reading of the ethics ordinance.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Magistrate Gay, a second by Magistrate Bodner. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Magistrate Cullen.
I don't know if we need to discuss it now or not, but at some point during this meeting, I would like to discuss these Sophie letters and possibly making some changes to it. So to streamline and make it easier for those that are filling it out, as well as those that have to, in your office, have to send them back out because a minute thing here or there might have been missed.
Okay. That is part of the ethics ordinance, that they be sent out, so if you want to discuss it now, we can, or you can wait until your magistrate comments.
It's whatever
Whichever
you
you prefer.
whatever you choose.
It's okay with me, go ahead.
All right, so I feel like this body did a good job by trying to ask the ethics committee to streamline this, and I know Julie was heavily involved as well, to streamline this to make it easy for those that are filling these out to be less cumbersome, less confusing, and I thought we did that, but my biggest problem is that, you know, if something is missed on here, it has to be sent back out. And it's not straightforward to everybody. I mean, I've had to look at it several times myself to figure it out. And so what I'd like to do is, instead of somebody having to fill out every space on 5 pages, I'd rather, like, if there's nothing there, they have to put none. I'd rather have some sort of paragraph or sentence in there that says any spots left blank will automatically, you know, attribute to none. And if we find, you know, this to be not true, you could be sanctioned to whatever issues or penalties that we have.
It does say that.
But I still have to fill out every,
Yeah, it says, let me read it to you, just to make sure we're talking the same thing. Please
So-
do not leave any item blank, and then on the back page, it says that you're swearing that it is true. If you leave anything blank, it's a Class A misdemeanor if we find out that's not true. You have to certify that you did not put any false or misleading information or intentionally omit required information. So
Okay.
it does kind of say that.
so we can just
Yeah.
have Chris
I mean,
lawyer it a little bit, change it around, but instead of like, you know, on item B where it says, if you have nothing to report or your response is below the financial threshold in this particular item, please enter none. Well, you can actually just kind of change that to say, if you have nothing to report, leave the item blank, and we will assume that it's none. And then,
Well, how do we handle the ones that just, like, we got one in yesterday that they didn't fill anything out? They have no income, they have no, a tax entity, an employee of a tax entity has no income, they have no property, they just left it all blank. How do I interpret that? I don't know how I would interpret what's
How does the
forgotten.
ethics committee
Yeah,
interpret that?
yeah,
Because they're the ones looking at
right.
them and
Yeah.
deciding which ones need to be sent back out, or if it's completed in full.
Right. Just so I get clarification on if they don't put an answer on anything, are we gonna assume that's?
so it's not that it doesn't have any income, it's source of income. Is that what you're saying? Because you're not supposed to disclose your income on here,
Right.
correct?
Yeah.
Not the amount.
But we're
Not
not
the
worried
amount.
about
But where-
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
you know, she had said he'd left the income blank. It's-
Right. The
It's source of
sorry.
income.
So by putting none in there, we are assuming that they've read and understood
Right.
and
Yeah.
don't have anything to report
Okay,
there.
my question is, how many times have you all had to send these things back out for?
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah,
People can't read the instructions. It's
Can we make it
horrible.
in red, the part that says put none, or,
I highlight it when I send it back out the second time. It's bolded, please do not leave any item blank.
maybe we should highlight it before we send it out.
I mean, I was even guilty. I put NA, then someone's
Yeah.
like, you're not supposed to put that, you're supposed to put
yeah,
none."
that's the silliness
But
that
it
we
didn't
deal
get
with
sent
here.
back, but.
Yeah, but if we put a highlight before we send it out,
Yeah.
on both the back
Okay.
page and that initial, then that may cut down some of it.
Last year, we highlighted, please put the board you serve on. Nobody filled that out.
Yeah.
We highlighted it, explaining that we need to know what board you're referring to. They just don't, I don't know what to do. But
Okay.
it is a lot of mail goes in and out.
Which is a lot of downtime
Yeah.
for you.
It is.
A lot of
And
time
we're
spent.
required to do this.
Yeah.
Yes,
We are.
yes.
So how do we make it easy? Because
Yeah.
the people that are filling these out are, again, volunteers that are serving on boards, that we have a hard time getting people to serve on boards. So why do we want to make it harder to get people to serve on boards by, some people do feel like this is a invasion of privacy, and I understand that. Especially when they didn't even really realize when they accepted the board position that they would have to fill one of these out, and then they're halfway through their term, and then they realize, oh crap, I've got to fill out these things. Why do you guys need to know this?
The
So,
majority are tax collecting entities.
Correct.
And that's only been in the last 12 years, maybe, that they've had to do this. And it's a burden on us, but Kara says we have to do it. We have to.
so
Well, and
how
there's
do
really
we?
only two things that have changed on that form,
Right.
period. I mean, it's been that way for a long, long time. And the only two things that have changed is the bankruptcy and the,
We removed the requirement that you list your stocks and
yeah,
securities.
stocks and securities.
We took that out because not half the people didn't understand that. It was very, very confusing. And Rich Ornstein said, you're the only ones that asked that. So we took that off, but we replaced it with requiring the bankruptcy response. Everything else, I went back and looked because
Yeah, the form hasn't been changed for
the layout
years.
has changed. The layout has changed, but the questions are the same.
The content of the
So
form.
how do we make it easier and less confusing for people
Yeah,
to fill out?
it is-
That's
Yeah.
Can we put I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Tom, you go ahead.
Tom,
I think
or
with what
Magistrate Ellis.
Julie read, there's an argument that it's already covered because there's not a mandate in the language that you read a minute ago. You do not have to fill out every blank.
Well, it does
You
say you
read
have
It
to-
does say that.
Yeah, it does say
No,
that.
read, it was the second thing you
It
read,
said,
I
please
think.
do not leave any item blank, and then it says back here.
That's not a mandate.
No. Any person who intentionally files a SOPI which he or she knows to contain false or misleading information or that intentionally omits required information shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. And I have one sitting on my
Intentionally
desk right now.
Omits.
But I don't want to see the Ethics Commission go to that level.
No.
That's why I send them
I'm
back.
just trying to ease your administrative
Yeah.
duty on this.
It is a lot, and I don't know what the right thing to do is. We've talked about putting it online where you can't go to the next field until you fill it in, but that's a lot of money to buy a program that does that. It's quite,
It's actually a Google form. It's pretty easy to do. It's a
Expensive.
Google form, but
Magistrate Bodner, did you have a?
I just said, is there like a little form letter that says, in order to, just a little something we stick in with the application and say, here's the two items that are most often returned,
we
can
did
you
that
be
this
sure?
year.
You did?
Yeah, we did. We put some common mistakes in
And they
it.
still did. Okay.
I don't know. It's not working, I agree.
Well, just the only thing I would add is, I agree that we do need to make it as simple for people filling it out as well as for those that have to deal with the sending it back and making sure it's filled out correctly. I will say though that in our 72 characters or tweet world, and that we live in, that it's just hard to get people to read and follow directions because, back to my center college life and having to get, what I consider to be some of our brightest kids coming to Center College, they could not fill out forms either because they didn't read the directions oftentimes. And so it's just, you know, unfortunately, we're dealing with that, people gotta slow down. You've gotta read the directions, you get the form and you just start filling it out and you
People are
don't read the
mad. They're
directions.
mad when they get it, and so
Yeah.
I think that adds to it.
I think that's where we need to make sure
Yeah.
whenever we put somebody on a board, say, you're gonna get this form, has to get filled out, and go over it with them at that point, whatever. But, I mean, this could be very easily solved by somehow putting a box on here that says none.
We
Check
could
a
do
box,
check.
none.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I agree.
Just put,
And I'm not saying that
Rework
the
the form.
form doesn't need to be tweaked, I'm just saying, I personally have filled out this form for years and it has not changed except for adding the bankruptcy.
Yeah,
So, but
but you
I agree, it does
chose
need to be
to
simpler.
work in a public setting that requires this. I have to fill out stuff like this for my financial advising stuff that I do. So I understand that, that's why
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. But, you know when you're trying to find somebody to sit on a
Oh,
board,
absolutely.
and you're like, hey, I want you to sit on a board, and then they find out they gotta fill out this stuff, and they're like, I didn't sign up for all this.
Right.
Because
Right.
to the person that is filling it out for the first or third time, it seems like an invasion of privacy.
I had seriously
I agree.
looked at maybe not doing it every year and just saying if you were gonna continue to serve, just update it, but that's not allowed. The
No.
Harris actually says annually.
I-
Really, the directors of the speeges, they need to be helping their board members do this.
Yes.
That would help tremendously if the directors of the.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and maybe we work on that too.
Maybe
Yeah.
get the directors together.
I just,
I
We
Before
have-
somebody accepts
we only
it.
have so much of your time,
Yeah, it's a
of
lot for
Katina's
me.
time, of Shannon's time, of Elena's time,
Yeah.
that we can't have you guys highlighting stuff, sending it back out. I mean, how much did that cost to send one out the other day? It was like $1 or something like
Yeah.
that, just to remail it.
Yep, 97 cents every time you send one.
I mean, and then before, I'm glad that we got rid of the part where they had to get it notarized. That was silly. I mean, we made some good strides. Let's just take it a step further. And honestly, I mean, I'm not trying to say this because anybody's like this, but let's dummy-proof this thing down to, the problem is that we've got, attorneys that are writing this, that want all this in here. No offense, Chris or Tom. But we just need to make it simple for them, since they're doing us a favor by sitting on these boards. So,
Okay.
Attorney Herring, do you have any legal advice you'd like to offer?
I definitely thought the form was easier this year than in years past. When somebody, just sends it in blank but with their name on it, to me that tells me they don't, not that they didn't have those things, it's like they don't care and they're just not gonna do it, like, just to kind of spite you. But, so I think if you had a box like the none or whatever, I think that'd be good. I think that would be easy to add, and if that'll make things flow smoother for people and help them, that's great. I mean, I've had some people come in and I've helped them fill out their forms at my office. Some people very close to me were going to get a letter, so I actually made sure that they got it filled out. So,
But some did not get that.
yeah,
so-
but sometimes some of these aren't getting filled out because the address isn't necessarily the correct mailing address for that person.
well, we have problems with law enforcement that don't want to put their personal
Yeah.
addresses and phone numbers down on something that's open to the public. I completely get that. But I mean, also, the silliness of, like, I understand on here it says put none, but if you're not gonna, I mean, NA is pretty much accepted with none, why can't NA be there? Like,
I agree with that.
what's the point behind that? Somebody's filled it out. So, again,
I agree that, but if we put that box in, then we don't have to even argue about the none or the NA.
Right.
So that would be a good and
I
easy
just-
change, I think.
I know how
Here on
hard,
out.
I know how hard the front office works here. They don't need to be doing any more, especially when we ask so much of y'all. So,
I think that the confusion too this year was we had a moratorium on Yeah, last year's, because we were trying to change the form up, and so they didn't go out till later. So they go out like in October or whatever, they fill it out, then they get this, like in December, and they're like, well, I just filled this out.
Right.
That's a lot of the
That's
people I've had to
some
explain to,
confusion.
like, hey, true, you did fill that out later this year, but this is for 2025 now. So that was a little confusing to a lot of people, and I think that was,
Well, some
that's
people are
probably the biggest
confused too.
problem.
They're like, I'm not on a board, but why do I have to fill this out? And Julie can answer that in a matter of 30 seconds, that it's because they're, procurement.
Yeah.
But half people don't even know what procurement means. So it's like,
So I mean, we could probably, if you wanted to like table or post this second reading to fix that part of the ordinance.
Well, the
Since it's-
form contents isn't in the ordinance,
Oh,
so
we
that's
could
a
go
separate approval, which.
Okay, so that would just need to go
But-
before the ethics commission.
So I think before we send out, we've only got 21 left
To get in this.
that are outstanding, so
Okay.
That's
we're
not a
really
lot.
close. I told Joe, this cannot linger past March.
so, but the
So-
requirement to turn it in by the 31st of January is in the ordinance, right?
That is true.
Okay.
Yes.
So can we put in whoever's motion that we extend it to March 15th to get these in, or whatever, if we're gonna change the form, or no, or what?
I don't think we need to change the form this year, because
I just think we
we're only
take
trying
them
to
and
get
we
21 in.
don't, we don't charge a penalty for it.
Right.
We just accept them and. we
No,
don't-
no misdemeanors are gonna be given out to people?
They fill their form out.
If they fill their form out.
They're
You
required to
can't-
fill their form out.
You can't send it in blank when you did it last year.
But last year they were on the board. This year they're not.
They're staff for the speedy.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but
And the
I mean,
KRS says they have to do it.
I get that,
Yeah.
but not everybody does.
Yeah.
So, if you come off a board and then they're still sending it to you, in some people's minds, it might be like, oh, they sent it to me by mistake because they thought I was on the board, but I'm not on the board anymore.
Well, there's some people that are not on the board that still have procurement
Yeah.
abilities,
Yeah,
so,
again, we get that.
yeah.
But there's a large amount of people that didn't even know how to fill out none on here, but, so,
Actually, the KRS says that all employees of a speedy have to do it. We only require the ones that procure over $1,000.
Mhm.
But technically, if you wanna follow KRS down to the law, it says all employees of any speedy has to do it. But our ordinance says over
Procurement.
$1,000. So, I mean,
so that means all 180 employees of the county have to fill this out too?
technically, yeah,
Well, plus
if you wanna take
everybody
that.
in the
But
extension office and
yeah,
everything
that's where
else.
it's the speegees, every employee of a speegee, so you're talking the person
The
that answers the
library?
phone. Whereas we're just saying anybody that procures over $1,000 has to do it.
And we're not complying with the law.
But it says here, reading the KRS 65A.070, it says the board officers and employees of each special district shall be subject to the code of the establishing entity. Our code says anybody that procures over 1,000. So, it gets really complicated, so we're trying to make it simple for the it's the speegees, I think, that don't understand. And if we could get the directors to help us,
Yeah, but
it
what we're
would,
gonna have to do
yeah.
is get them
It would
involved
help. Maybe
heavily.
use a board meeting and fill
Yeah.
them out together
So
or
I agree with
something.
that, and I think
But I
going
like the
forward,
no box.
I think add
that's
that box
easy.
on there,
Yeah,
but again, we have to ask them to remember to check the box.
yeah.
And we've tried to educate, I mean, Joe has went to, all the city, council meetings, and he has went to different boards,
Yeah,
and he has
Yes.
explained the form,
Mhm.
he has showed them the form, he's answered questions about the form, but it still doesn't cover everybody. But, he has tried to educate
Mhm.
the different
He's
committees
at Johnson City
and
a
boards.
couple times,
Yeah, and he went to Perryville, council meeting, so, I mean,
This is a hard thing.
it is.
It is.
It is.
I get it. And I hate it. I hate
So we
when
have a
it's-
motion and a second on the floor to approve the second reading of ordinance 280.5, which I think we can proceed with, and then we can meet with the ethics committee and get the form simplified.
Do we need the motion or an E to put in there that there will be no penalties
We can. That, Counselor?
Yeah,
for this?
I don't mind adding that to the motion with the March 15th date, because
Okay.
I think after that, you know, if people are just not gonna fill them out, then they should have penalties. If
Okay.
They're not gonna follow our
So anything
ordinance.
received before March 15th, is that what you're
Right.
saying?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Who did the second?
Who did
Was that
second?
me?
I think it was Paula.
I think,
Okay.
I
You second that? Okay.
thought I did, but it was.
All right, any further discussion or comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion to approve ordinance 280.5 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you.
52,000 square feet in that warehouse,
Okay,
according to PDA.
all right.
There you go. Side note.
Side note.
All right,
Math is on that.
the Danville Christian Academy Boys and Girls Basketball Champions will be here at the next meeting due to the inclement weather this morning. They canceled, and we certainly didn't want the students out trying to get here and all that mess. So they will be at our next meeting. That brings us to Black History Month Proclamation, and I will read the proclamation. Whereas February is recognized as Black History Month, a time dedicated to reflecting on the significant contributions of African Americans throughout our nation's history. And whereas the theme for Black History Month 2025, African Americans in Labor, emphasizes the profound ways in which work, both free and unfree, skilled and unskilled, intersects with the collective experiences of Black people. And whereas labor has been central to Black history and culture, from the agricultural work of enslaved Africans that sustained early colonies and the efforts of Black educators advocating for vocational training and entrepreneurship within their communities. Whereas African Americans have played transformational roles across various sectors, including organized labor movements that fought against economic and social injustice, underscoring the critical nature of their contributions. And whereas the labor of Black people encompasses a wide array of activities, from compensated jobs in factories and military service to voluntary work in community organizations that advocate for social justice. Whereas recognizing the history of Black labor allows for a deeper understanding of the challenges and triumphs faced by Black communities, as well as their unwavering resilience and influence throughout history. And whereas we honor the legacy of pioneers such as A. Philip Randolph, who established the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and Maids, the first Black union chartered by the American Federation of Labor, and whose efforts paved the way for future generations seeking economic justice. Whereas we approach the 100th year anniversary of this landmark achievement, it is essential to reflect on the intersection of labor, race, and civil rights in shaping a more equitable society, as emphasized by leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. during his Poor People's Campaign. Now therefore, I, Trilly L. Bottom, Boyle County Judge Executive, and the Boyle County Fiscal Court do hereby proclaim February 2025 as Black History Month. And I encourage all citizens to engage in discussions, activities, and educational opportunities that celebrate the achievements of African Americans in labor and recognize their ongoing contributions toward a just and equal society. Let us unite in honoring and reflecting upon the rich tapestry of Black labor history as a vital part of our shared narrative. Have a motion to accept the proclamation.
Second.
Magistrate Ellis, second by Magistrate Gay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, next is Parks and Rec joint appointment. So I'm requesting approval for Charles Bo Eppinghoff's appointment to the Parks and Rec Committee. He could not be here today. He was contacted and accepted the appointment, but he just, due to his schedule, he could not be here today.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, have a motion by Magistrate Gay,
Second.
second by Magistrate Bodner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries. That term ends January 31st, 2029, and we will try to get him in here at a future meeting just so that we can introduce him to the court. All right.
And will you-
oh,
Will
sorry.
you meet with him separately, like we discussed before about meeting with our, as he's a joint appointment, right?
He's a joint appointment for City County.
Never mind.
Yes. Okay, Julie, you gonna talk about the Lebanon Road survey? Everybody has a copy, it's all up here at their desk.
County Surveyor dropped this off this morning. The only change is that he did discover that the actual site is 3.944 acres, not 4.5 that we thought it was. And that's due to the widening of Lebanon Road at some point in the life of this property.
Yeah.
So we lost about half an acre.
So what's the acreage?
It's
3.9. Right dead center in the middle.
Right at 4 acres. Instead of 4.5.
So this has been stamped and filed and,
Yes, it's been recorded.
yeah.
Just wanted to bring it to your all's
Well, I
attention.
appreciate that, because I think there was a discussion before about someone was in the 3s and someone was in the 4s about what we actually own. It's interesting.
What did your crystal ball say?
It's not my crystal ball, in my memory.
Judge, I'd just like to repeat the significance of that
No, this is.
property. In terms of
Where we were?
one more park for Boyle County, it'd just be absolutely wonderful to be able to be around that historic Crawford House and to access Chaplain River down below. The judge and I have talked extensively with other people who have experience with this, including Harold Edwards, forever resident of the Perryville area and across from the battlefield. We will need to gate it in some way and have control over the access, because untoward circumstances have happened down there many times through the years. Secondly, just had a conversation and a call from Donnie Leonard, the adjoining farm owner, and he's very excited because he took me down a history trail of all of his buddies who grew up in the area, who were in the Boy Scout camp down below it, and it would be our intent to make every attempt in the world to rehab a very fine building that literally has trees growing out of it right now and a fine fireplace, and that would be part of the acquisition that we would get from the county. The judge has had extensive meetings with Rocky Atkins, the #1 guy who reports to the governor. We're feeling confident that things are going to come together, and hopefully with virtually no expenditure, Judge, I'm thinking $1 just like it was in the transfer before, that we'll have it back, and that Public Works can bring back the land down below and secure it in such a way that Dr. Ted Steinbach, who has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in bringing back Crawford House, will feel more secure that the county has a park that is surrounding his acquisition.
All right, thank you, Magistrate Ellis. Okay, next is our building inspector report. Rusty.
Oh, gosh. Hello.
Hello.
All right, everybody got a copy, I'm sure. Really, all the numbers are there. It's last year and the year before, pretty much neck and neck, and then the year before that was about the same. I mean, I do have some plans for this year to change a few things with your blessing. We'll get to that when I get it all planned out. But really, just if you've got any questions on anything.
Judge?
Yes.
A couple of things. Rusty and I have talked, and in terms of inflation and everything else that's going on, I think we need to look at the fee structure when builders come to Rusty and begin that process. It's just a sign of the times that we need to move forward. Specifically, Counselor, I hope, through an ordinance, can up front cause any builder to come to Rusty, come to Roger, come to the magistrate over the area that a house or homes are being built, with very specific language about the condition of the property. In my district, and Paula helped to alert me to this, there's a gentleman who's building 4 houses side by side on a slope. And forgive me for saying this, but every time when you're on a slope like that and the mudslides, there ought to be the small bales of hay or something to immediately take care of erosion. And along with that, advice was given by both Public Works and by Rusty to get some culverts in there as they started the building. The road has had as much dry fork in my district for a long stretch, has had as much as 2 inches of mud on it, presenting a danger, presenting a serious problem to the farmers who are moving equipment up and down that road. And I think we need to give Rusty a firm foundation of what he can require in consult with Roger to what language would help us to keep those circumstances. It's going to be a continuing problem well into the spring, because in our meeting yesterday of Public Works, we talked about the fact, great, let's do it. And now look at what we've got that we're contending with, and as soon as this snow melts tomorrow, we're going to be right back in the same situation. It has caused our Public Works guys to do overtime work to clear that road to make it safe, and it just needs to be addressed as quickly, perhaps even in our meeting as a first reading in 2 weeks.
So what are you suggesting we authorize
Tom,
Rusty, or what?
In a lot of cases, if, and dry fork, it got by me or whatever, I can require a silk fence. If you've ever seen them, they're those low, black fences, and I wasn't aware that they were having a sliding problem there, but yes, that's something I can do already.
Well, he ignored the appeal by Roger to get the tiles, the culverts in there. Tried to excuse it away. Well, you know, I don't want to have one crushed and come back and as the concrete trucks and others.
Well, but those culverts and the tiles, they're for a much more important thing, and that's to divert the
Water.
drainage from somewhere.
Absolutely.
So that's something we definitely probably ought to maybe get into a ordinance form.
That's exactly what I'm recommending, Judge.
Okay,
Actually, I mean, I would hope that we start requiring those fences anyway. I mean, I have huge problems on waterworks all the time because of the building that's going on back there where.
Oh, yes, yes.
Where
You've got higher hills there.
Yeah, and that's constant where we've got to come out and clean that, so.
And in a lot of cases, you're not sure until it actually happens. Some of them are easy. You can have hillsides. I'll go in and say, hey, you need to put a silk fence around there, like I did over in Colonial Manor or whatever, and over at the end of Main Street and different things. Some of them are not as obvious, but we can always, if somebody says anything about it, we can always
is there a
require it.
penalty for not doing it? If you say it's required and the landowner doesn't, or property owner doesn't do it, then
It would be just the same penalty as if I told them they need to fix this before they go on and they don't do it.
okay.
But meantime,
And that would be a
interruptions we
withholding
have-
of, say, a certificate of occupancy or something like that.
I mean, I don't think it's a large enough scale issue to cause some bonding beyond reason, but certainly needs to be addressed on the front end and not ignored when it's suggested by either Rusty or Roger.
Absolutely. I'm all for whatever you guys decide.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's not already stated as such, then we need to fix that, but I agree with what's being said, that it ought to be a requirement to have a silk fence regardless, whether it's flat, hillside, whatever, you ought to be required to have a silk fence, because it doesn't take much grade to cause runoff to occur, because it's gonna,
Right.
as we like to say, water runs downhill.
Sure.
It doesn't take, like I said, unless it's keeping the water on the site, there's gonna be some level of
Well, I
runoff.
can add that, yeah, that can be a directive on
Yeah, I think there ought to be a
permit.
silk fence
Sure,
on it.
sure.
So Attorney Herron, can we give that to you for you to work on?
Right, I mean, it sounds to me though, he's got that ability in the first place, so when he issues these, he can just say, you gotta put up a silk fence
Right.
without us
And-
having to change
With
it.
no
Well, I
ordinance?
think the ordinance would be more suited to the
The culverts, yeah, because,
Yeah.
see,
I'm
I
not-
would love to
the
see a
silk fence
culvert
we can handle easy.
requirement, and if the culvert fails, then I would like to see them fined, at least the cost of repair by our Public Works.
I mean, I think we'd have to be specific, like, I don't think you can require everybody that built a house to put a a culvert.
No,
So
but
we have
if
to have,
there's an existing drainage ditch that they're encroaching,
Okay.
and
So
then
that would be
anything else you
something
guys.
that you and Attorney Herring can
Sure,
get together
sure.
on and.
I think it's a very important thing that we need to
I
do.
think that guy put in rock, but the rock wasn't. It put the rock in there and it wouldn't go through the rock, right? And that's what was causing it to go over the road. So if he had used tile, that would have.
Counselor, it was worse than that because a lot of the rock ended up in the road
Right.
and was bouncing up underneath people's
Yeah,
cars
well.
and could ruin them.
Right.
If you've ever been to Niagara Falls, boulders the size of this room fall every year. So if those can fall, then you know, whatever rock we put in there, they just have to be held to account because it's costing our taxpayers money for a man or a woman who's building a house, who's gonna profit from it.
I mean, I think too. I mean, if the county has to go in and grate that, like I think he had to get the mud, you know, and get the heavy equipment to scrape it or whatever.
Yeah.
Can we send them a bill?
Yes,
I
yeah,
think we
absolutely. Build
absolutely
that
can.
into the ordinance.
Jason, who cleaned up out at Waterworks? Was it, the county, did the county?
County
do
went
it?
out there and cleaned it up, yeah.
Okay, yeah, something like
Same
that.
thing.
I think if a nuisance is being caused by omission of doing something.
It'd be similar to like when somebody doesn't mow their lawn and then like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
city has to do it.
Right.
Somebody's not taking care of the property, which is leading to the mud getting across the road, causing danger, and we have to do it. Then
Absolutely.
we should be able to.
Thank you, Counselor.
It looks
All
like,
right.
it does look like on your report, though, it's been we've had two good steady years.
We probably had 4 good steady years.
Four, and
Yeah,
then,
I always just compare it to the year before, but.
right, and you said this year is off to a good start. Did you
Right,
say
but it's a lot of work, and I think it's time we look at raising some of our permit fees. I've been studying every jurisdiction in the state that's got different things, and,
Yeah.
Can you bring us a proposed list of?
Proposed fee list?
oh,
Fee
I'm
list?
working on it right
Okay.
now.
All right, good deal.
So, yeah, so
And-
what was the
and
number that
also-
you said earlier?
I'm
though?
sorry.
You said, how many did you say we're up to in January?
Usually I might do none, I might do 3, 4, I've done about 20 so far, and
January.
quite a few
Wow.
houses.
That's awesome.
It's a booming business out there, and Tom and I were talking earlier, I know some guys making a lot of income on these houses these days, so.
Now, is the area out there past Cattleman's and Azuka, that's all gonna be residential, or what is all that?
I think the front may be commercial.
But
I'm
they're
not-
pushing a
I'm-
lot of dirt around out there right now.
They really are.
P&Z has more of a leg up on what's going on out there right now, but I know the back end around.
Nobody's come in for permits or anything at
No,
this point?
they're still working on the road and such, but,
Okay.
So any new businesses, new restaurants we need to be aware of?
There's gonna be a new restaurant in Ridgefield Shopping Center, replacing one of the businesses there, but I have no idea
Okay.
what it is.
Okay.
Of course, the old KFC is now gonna be a Whitaker Bank.
Oh,
They're
okay.
getting ready to start on that. I think,
Is Pizza Hut moving like to over there by Cattleman's?
yes, unless something's changed, that was the plan, and then another restaurant maybe coming in there too. And we got a new donut place out across from Wendy's in that little fourplex or whatever.
Been there a few times already, so.
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
Qdoba? Did I hear a Qdoba's coming?
I'm just here, that's just a rumor
That's a
I've
rumor,
heard.
okay.
After White Castle.
After.
Okay.
Believe me, I will let you know. whatever it's-
Okay.
Any questions?
Anybody else have any comments or questions for Rusty? We appreciate you being
Well,
here.
thank
Thank
you
you for your
all.
report.
And what about your son?
Oh, yeah.
40
Charlie?
years old today.
Yeah.
Impossible.
I'm an old man.
Uh,
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Rusty. Appreciate
I'm gonna
you.
go work on the schedule and stuff.
Great.
All right. Okay, next up, we have CVB update, Kendall Clinton. Come on down.
I
Welcome.
can tell you one other restaurant that's coming.
Okay.
Next to Advanced Auto Parts where
Sabor Americana was,
Yes.
a Mediterranean restaurant, is supposed to be opening up there, I think, in the next few weeks. They've been out there working on it recently. So.
Okay, good deal. When's it expected to open?
I saw on Facebook like end of February, but I'm not sure they haven't
Okay.
had an exact date. But if you go by there, there's a sign that has the name of it and it says coming soon.
You know anything about Qdoba?
Just saw it on Facebook.
I've seen that Mediterranean on Facebook. Is that a
I'm trying,
chain?
Jamie, I'm
Everything
trying.
you see on Facebook is true.
So,
Cool guy.
it's,
Really?
Tom, it's Mike Harmon's son-in-law.
Well, good. Yes, I know now, yeah.
Good food.
Delicious.
Delicious food, yeah.
Apparently-
Okay, what you got for us?
Qdoba
Normally Tim
Armand.
would come and give the financial report, but he had something at one, couldn't make it, so he's passed that on to me, so I'll read that to you and also tell you about some other things we got going on.
All right.
So as of the end of December, our P&L showed our transient taxes are exceeding our projections for the first half of the fiscal year. We have a total revenue goal of $355,000. At the end of December, we were at $147,198 towards the $320 from the hotels, and we were at $17,000 towards the $35,000 for short-term rentals. That doesn't include December, however, because those funds aren't due to the end of January. So I did go back and look what we've collected so far. I haven't gotten a report from our accountant yet, but we collected an additional $16,409 from the hotels for December and $2,031 from short-term rentals. That puts us about $3,600 over budget for the hotel tax for the first half of FY25 and about $1,500 ahead for short-term rentals. And we still have some that are past due, so once we get those, that'll help out. And Chris and Julie have helped me with some short-term rentals. A couple of them have, and these are ones that have been either non-paying or have paid a long time. We had one came in this morning, got caught up, and then we had another that paid us a few weeks ago. We still have a couple that are still unresolved at this moment. So we're still working on that. But all indications are we're, like I said, well on our way towards reaching our budgeted goal of $355,000. And kind of looking back a little bit, we had, first year I was here, we had a budgeted revenue of $175,000. FY23, that went up to $243,000. Last year it was, or FY24 it was $322, and now we're at $355. So our transient room tax has been growing steadily each year. Though I still think we're going to hit a plateau just because of the amount of available rooms. We're at high capacity now until they build another hotel. I think we're just coming into this next fiscal year, we're going to have to really look at not increasing too much, because I don't know how much more we can grow. With
What about the
capacity
new
we have.
hotel?
Yeah, that was gonna be my question
Yeah.
as well.
When's it expected to get started, construction?
My understanding is that maybe soon.
Okay,
The one behind Kettleman's?
yes.
Mhm. Yeah. I
Okay.
don't have a firm word on that, but that was my understanding, is that there was another project they were working on, and
Okay.
this will be next.
Okay.
Kendall, did you see any increase in revenue because of the new fee, penalties, interest that we're charging? Has that made a dent?
The one that came this morning, they paid the 20% penalty on 22 months worth of unpaid, so that, yeah. And I know the idea behind that was to get them to pay and not have to pay the penalty, so hopefully that'll be the case, because it is kind of difficult to budget when you've got people who are months and years behind on their payments. And you've got our financials in your packets. You may have noticed that on December 31st of last year, our balance was about $74,000 more than it was at December 31st of this past year. And that's due largely to the one-time ARPA money that we had to spend, which we spent the rest of that on the wayfinding signs in Perryville, which we zeroed that out. So.
They're very nice, so thank you.
Thanks. That concludes the financial report, but I'll mention some other projects we're working on. One is, it's actually a project that Visit Lex, the tourism office in Lexington, started back late last year. It's called Film Lex, which they've hired a director for this and somebody who oversees the website. Basically, they're creating the resources a filmmaker would need if they're going to come in here and they want to film a movie. So if they need a horse farm and a tobacco barn and a shopping center and a school, all these different things, they're going to have these on their website for them to look at and just see the photos and then maybe go out and do a site visit. So even though this is Visit Lex, they are allowing all the counties in the Bluegrass region to tag on to this. So we are allowed to put whatever we want on there that's in one of those categories. So I got Constitution Square on there after I talked to you, and I'm still trying to figure out how I can add additional locations under the same username, because they have it set up so your username is linked to one property.
Okay.
I just got an email from them today. I think we got it figured out. But I've already got about a little over 24 properties that I have spoken with, and have most of the photos sitting on my desktop. I just need to upload those. And if a filmmaker is looking for something we have, then they'll contact me. I'll tell them who the manager or who the property is, and then they can deal with them
Awesome.
directly. This past Friday, I was up in Lexington at Lex Studios, which is a former movie theater that they basically gutted and turned into studios where they can do filming. They're filming a true crime series in there right now, and they deal with different production companies that are coming in. And while I was there, they mentioned they needed a specific type of location, which we have here. Told them about it, sent them emails yesterday, and they forwarded those on to the filmmaker. So if they're interested, I'll get them in touch with that property, and they will get some filming here.
That's great. We seem to be becoming a hub for filmmaking.
Yeah. There's been probably more filmed here than people know over the years and recently. And these are like $1 to $10 million productions. So they're spending money here. The extras and the crew, they get per diem. So if they're not on set, they're out spending money. They're eating. They're staying at the hotel. So this is bringing revenue to your town. If you can get somebody who especially is staying here for an extended period, they generally like to come and do base camp in one spot, so that they don't have to go too far if they're filming in different locations. So if we can get a production here for a month and get them to book 20, 25 rooms, and then they're eating here, that kind of thing. So, so anyway, the rest of this week I'm probably going to be uploading lots of photos, and I'm open to suggestions. They, the low-hanging fruit is downtown Constitution Square, but they're looking for houses, tobacco barns, places that they're off the beaten path. So if you all, or the general public, knows locations that could be a good filming location for something, we can put them on a list, and then it's up to them to decide whether or not to work with the film.
Send them a link for Forkland. Have a blast down there.
Yeah, the Forkland's on my list.
Penn
Store.
Penn
Stores on it. Yeah.
Like
I said, those are all low-hanging fruit. I've got all those. But if you want to look at the film, it's just filmlex.com.
Yeah. They've
got a tag on there that I think it says locations, and then there's like 30 different categories. You can look down there, and it might jog your memory of some place that you know of. Or
have you seen, not to get off topic here, but have you seen, there's a ad I've seen going around on social media. It's for like this deck of cards where you, it's almost like a date night or an activity day kind of thing. And you pull out a card and you scratch it off, and it's for a specific like city, and they keep featuring like Kentucky ones, and so they pull out, so like for Harrisburg, and you scratch it off, and it lists like neat things to do in that area.
Yeah.
I guess you haven't
I've seen that.
Okay.
If you see it,
Yeah, I'll forward it on to you. I thought you probably had already been contacted about it or whatever. I'll send it over to you.
Okay. All right.
So they have categories from history when we first got here, all the way up to contemporary
they're
items.
looking for historic locations, office buildings, just like I said, anything you can think of that a movie maker might want. So a lot of the movies being filmed in Kentucky aren't set in Kentucky, but they can make things look like
About an old Boy Scout camp. Needs a fence.
Yeah, that's anything like that would be potentially interesting.
Gotcha.
They were actually looking for.
You're paid for by it.
They're looking to film a movie or some kind of production. They're looking for some Caribbean-looking houses in Kentucky. So they're going to make it look like they're in an island somewhere, but they're going to shoot here in Kentucky. The film tax credit here is pretty lucrative. We haven't caught on like Georgia has, but we have a lot to offer in with the new Lex Studios, because they've got equipment there. They've got connections to staff, because they'll need all that stuff when they come in. They're not coming in with all the equipment. They need to rent that. So they're filling that void of crew and talent and equipment. So, and hopefully we'll benefit from that.
Well, if they need an old-timey setting, Merchants Row is the perfect place for that. So,
Don't stay from me, but if you have time at the end of the meeting, I'd like to talk to you.
Okay, yeah. We're also working with the EBCDC on more wayfinding signs for Junction City. I met yesterday with Carmen, which is the consultant we use and the city of Danville used to do the wayfinding signs there at some locations in Junction City. Josh Gooch went down there with us. I met with Mayor Douglas to go over this to make sure that he's on board and is good with this. So I got some feedback from him. Carmen's going to take the locations we looked at yesterday, go back and do some renderings, make sure that they seem to fit the transportation cabinet guidelines. And then in a couple weeks, he'll send us an initial look at what we could do. And then if we approve that, they'll send it on to the transportation cabinet and then go through that process there.
Okay.
But these will closely mirror what's in Perryville, what's in Danville. It'll be a different color to, give them a unique sign that'll kind of mirror what's already in place.
Good deal.
And finally, it's the time for the annual nominations for the Best in Kentucky that Kentucky Living does each year. We had 3 finalists in 2023, and then we had none in 2024. So we're trying to work hard to get people to nominate people that are in the local category. They've got Best Distillery, Best Burger, all kinds of different categories, and then they'll have a actual vote period later this year. And it doesn't cost anything. If we get finalists or even winners, they end up in the magazine. That just puts eyes on Boyle County.
Yeah, yeah.
So I encourage everybody to vote on that.
And where do we do that at?
You go to the Kentucky Living website.
Okay.
At the very top of the page, they have a link that says contest. And you just pull down. I think it's the very first one there. It says Best in Kentucky.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. And I got
Any
stuff going on, but
questions?
if you got questions.
Comments for Kendall?
No, I guess, one thing related to tourism and visitors coming to town is, I don't know if y'all saw the thing that Center put out the other day, that they're keeping track of how many different high schools come to Champions Hall to participate in the different things that we host there now, and they've surpassed the 100 high schools have come to participate in Champions Hall mark. So
Yeah.
it's doing what we hoped it would do, and
Yeah.
bringing a lot of visitors to town, not only, and that's the high school teams,
Yeah.
not, counting the college athlete visitors and families that come to town on a regular basis.
Are those exclusively Kentucky schools or outside as well?
Those, I would assume the majority of those high school teams are from within Kentucky.
I hope it's out the state too.
Yeah, but are from within Kentucky, I would guess, but yes.
I saw school buses from probably a dozen counties on campus.
This weekend they had indoor track and field meet.
Yeah.
High school.
Look, I thought it was swim meet. It was last weekend.
Yeah, well, that might have been swim the weekend before.
But they were from Pikeville and
Right.
Western Kentucky, so all over.
Yeah, so, yeah, I was out at one of the fast food restaurants, and it had several school buses around it and lots of kids coming and going.
That's awesome.
And Jason, I'm still working on that project you told me about. Happy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Have you reached out to that gentleman I sent you?
Not yet. I was waiting to get some background information. Actually, just got an email from Center, their archivist, said they don't have a whole lot of background on him. He only went there for a year. But I think I know where his house might have been, so I'm gonna go look that up in the PBA office.
Let me know as soon as you get that one.
I'm pretty sure I know which one it is now.
Okay.
Is it still standing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yep. You saw me in
Yeah,
some
yeah,
research. I was
yeah.
looking at the wrong house.
Okay.
I think I figured out which one it is.
Okay, good deal. Well, thank you,
And we do
Kendall.
have a playwright that could, I'm sure, be converted into a screenwriter.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So when we need that.
What, are you gonna stake in $5 million or?
I know, right, I'm willing to put in a little bit, help start him off here.
Give you my age.
Thank you, Kendall.
Yeah, thank you, Kendall. We appreciate the report.
Thanks, sir.
We'll see how the performers do in the play.
All right, next up, EMS Director, Mike Rogers.
This guy, he's gonna probably want something. Thanks, Judge, and his report. Appreciate the time today. We have 3 items on the agenda. The first of being a chase vehicle that we had budgeted.
We went through quite the process. Thank Elena and Julie and the judge for helping us make sure we navigate this well. And again, before we pick it up, we'll double, triple check to make sure we're on the same page. That's the right vehicles and models and all that stuff. But you have in your package, you basically got 3 quotes from all state contract prices. Don Franklin, Freedom, Chrysler, Dodge Jeep, and then Bachman and Louisville. We're recommending to go with the Don Franklin because they're the only one that actually has a unit on the lot, and it is a 2023 model. We talked about it a lot this morning in our EMS committee meeting, and I think they said they would come down off of that price for $192. I've got it written down somewhere. So the best they could do was $41,808 for a 2023. If you look at the other dealers, they'll have to order them. It's anywhere from 30 to 60. They just have to order them. So, but we kind of need a vehicle now. What makes it even more complicated is once we get the vehicle, it'll take us a few months to get it in service because we'll have to wait for L&W to do lights and sirens and all that kind of stuff. So we're kind of in need for it now. And so I asked for approval on a Dodge Durango from Don Franklin and pay upon delivery.
Paid upon delivery. All right, do we have a motion to approve the purchase of a Dodge Jeep?
Dodge Durango.
Dodge Durango.
Well, that was generous of them to give us that $182.
Yeah.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Master Gay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Master Cullen, any discussion?
So these other 23 models too?
No, they're 25s.
They're
24 and 25.
Okay.
That was the discussion we had. It's, this vehicle's been sitting for a couple of years down in Somerset. I'd hate to. That was just the hard part is that, and what they're giving it to us at is the same price as something new, whatever, but I guess it's new to us. But again, they do need it. The chase vehicle they have now is being utilized. Have you looked at like the Wagoneers? Do they offer the Wagoneer in any way that because I know you're looking at a
I
Tahoe.
don't think so. I think the only one that I seen was a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and they offer those, which that's kind of small. It's even smaller.
Yeah, but the Wagoneer is kind of the size of a Tahoe, so.
I haven't seen it offer.
And then nothing on the Ford side, right?
Nothing that I think that we really liked it. This is what we're recommending. We'll all do whatever.
Okay, this is for a chase vehicle. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the contract price, $41,808 for a 2023 Dodge Durango. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is we want to engage a healthcare attorney, and I consulted with County Attorney Herring on this before I even asked to speak with this attorney. But this will be paid through our crisis response team grant. We just want to make sure that all of our HIPAA practices are up to date. We're not, creating any issues with HIPAA, and the attorney is going to help guide us through those and our privacy practices and all those types of things. And that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, they're gonna give them general healthcare compliance, legal advice. I can review contracts and stuff like that, but like, to get down to the nuts and bolts of that, that's past my pay grade. Stuff I don't understand. I think somebody who, these larger firms have people that specifically, that's what they do. I think that would be best for our county to protect us in the future.
I'll make the motion, we approve the letter with Stites and Harbison.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Master Gay, second by Master Cullen. Any discussion? And you stated this will be paid for through the grant? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thank you. The last thing I have is just kind of advocating for a House bill that was, kind of came up on our radar. And if you're at CAPA, Kentucky Ambulance Provider Association was there talking to you about this bill. And so basically kind of what this bill is going to do is your insurance company is required to pay for an ambulance, but it doesn't say how much they have to pay. So you could be, they could pay $100, they may pay the whole thing, so it varies. And so this kind of was spurred from that No Surprise Billing Act. And so basically I think how it affects us would be for a commercial payer, we bill them for the ambulance transport. That commercial payer would be required to pay all of it except for maybe their deductible, that kind of stuff. If there was piece left on your deductible that you still owe, then you might be responsible for that. But otherwise than that, they would be required to pay the whole entire thing. And so the fiscal court would have the option to set the rates for EMS billing, which we do. And I don't know if this would be an additional ordinance, something that we have to pass, but it really talks about it on the second page, down at the very bottom. It says CAPA proposed legislation does the following. That's kind of the big things that it does. If you don't set a rate, then it just says, that the rate will be set at 400% above Medicare rates. Now at CAPA, they were saying, the CAPA representatives that were revenue $250,000 for every 1,000 runs, which I hope that's true, because that would be a huge blessing. Because we made 7,000, that's what we made last year, so that would be a huge amount of money. So I would, Julie kind of suggested we put it on the agenda. Maybe if you all talk about it and maybe support it, then maybe you can write a letter to our elected officials and maybe help push this through.
Okay. We'll be meeting with Representative Elliott tomorrow, so this is something we can definitely put on his agenda.
Yep, and this sheet here that I gave you is the one that they suggest you leave with the elected official. So
Okay.
I can leave you this, or you can get it online, either way.
And I see no mention of anything other than land transport. There's nothing about helicopter.
No.
Because that's one of the big.
Yeah. I actually consulted Aaron Stanford, the base manager at EVAC 56, and he didn't think it would apply to him. On the very back page, though, well, there's two documents they suggested to leave with them. On this page, on the very back page, it shows the other states that are doing it. So it's not like we just, CAPA just made this up and was trying to get it passed. But we, as you know, we usually bring in about 1.8 to at best $2 million a year, and our budget's more than that. And without the support from here, we wouldn't be able to provide the services. So anytime we can make that gap closer, I know it's going to make us all feel a lot better.
While you're up here, any good, bad, or ugly overtures from the legislation 2 years ago when we were like this with the Hospital Association?
Yeah, this is just my opinion. I don't really think that the legislation has helped. And in fact, I think in a lot of ways it put EMS back. I think the Board of EMS was not perfect, but I think it was effective. And I think just moving it under state government has made it, a few years, put a few years back. And so I don't think it was a good move. And it didn't solve any problems. We still have the same problems we did as the day the bill came out. And so I think the discussion around it has helped a lot, like that Kentucky workforce investment thing that we've taken advantage of. I think it kind of wakened up some of our state legislators to how bad the problem was. So, for example, I reported in our EMS committee meeting this morning that the Kentucky Fire Commission is doing a free EMT and advanced EMT class, so we were able to put a couple of people into that, the advanced EMT side of it. So I think, in all these different paramedic programs that we're partnering with, I think we're starting to fix the problem of the workforce shortage, but it doesn't fix, you know, the revenue side of EMS, and that's where it needs to be fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Rogers.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, appreciate you being here.
We didn't get a total for runs for last month. You have that by chance?
Yeah. I do. I was gonna save this for our budget meeting, but I don't know how many I have, but, you asked me to come up, I can hand it out, but it has.
You don't have to hand it, I just want to know.
Well, that's all right, you can go ahead and have it, since I have it. If you want. It was 693 was the runs for last month.
693.
Yeah, but on that it shows, and I don't know if I printed out enough, if I didn't, I'm sorry. On that it shows kind of how our run volume has grown since 2018 when we moved to our current electronic health software that we're using today, so. I'm gonna do the perfect amount.
I already have one.
You already have.
I already have one, yeah.
All right, you're special.
Just so this group understands, you know, tough weeks. Can you tell them, just give them a brief synopsis of last week?
Last week was tough, both on the crisis team and just on the EMS side. I mean, I know you've seen it on the news about the flu death here in the county, and it affected some of our providers, and you know, between
for those that didn't,
yeah,
9-year-old.
Yeah, and that affected some of our providers, and you know, it's just as these dark days of winter, it's really hard. You know, people that are struggling with mental health. So we had a lot of mental health calls last week that we were dealing with, and it's just been a really busy time. So I've really been hoping for a week of sunshine where it's kind of warm, cheer everybody up a little bit.
With the mental health I had a question. Someone asked me that, does it just go till 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You can
Right
only call.
now, it does. Well, it's business hours right now, so we only have one, you know, social worker.
Right.
We have that open position, but we've just not. We've been getting applications. There's two issues. One of the biggest issue is they don't want to work 3 to 11, and that's where we want to extend our hours to 3 to 11. The other issue is we really need a master's certified social worker, and we've just not been able to recruit that. And so with Jessica and the team at Medicaid, we're trying to change some of the laws maybe that surround some of the things that they do to make it easier for a bachelor level to do that stuff, so it opens it up to be able to hire a bachelor's level, so there's a little bit more availability for those. But we're really trying to extend, you know, the hours, but right now, unfortunately, it's just.
If somebody has contact with this person and they're definitely having mental health issues but not harming themselves.
Right.
Could they be contacted could they contact you in the day? How do they make that happen during the daytime between
For sure, and if you haven't seen it, we do have I'm still working on it, getting the Facebook up and going, but some of the information's on the Facebook. If you go to the Boyle County Crisis Response Unit page, is on there. They can just call EMS.
Okay.
And so we're really trying to work on doing some more promotion and things to have it, but just call the station. That's the easiest way, and we can get them in touch with our social worker.
Okay.
Anything we can do, we're willing to help. And
I'll let that person contact you because that'll help him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been busy, so.
I can imagine.
All right, any other questions or comments for Director Rogers? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our finance officer is back in the room. I believe she has a couple little items of business before we get to our treasurer.
I had 2 more bills for some reason that did not pull through. So, I need to pay Farmers National Bank of Danville for the Q4 direct deposit billing. I need to pay them $214.08. And then the other one is actually a bill from the jail, and it is for Pastor James Hunt for a total of he's $2,187.50, and the total of the bills will be $2,401.58.
Make a motion we approve.
Second.
A motion by Magistrate Cullen, a second by Magistrate Bodner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Your
Elena,
additional
one
bills
quick
are
question.
approved.
Are we good on the bench and the ordering of the iron?
Yes, we got approved today, actually. We had to actually open an account, a credit account with that company. They would not work with us to let BCTC order it and then send us a bill for it. They wouldn't do it. So we had to go through the whole process of getting a credit account open. Shannon did, she got all that done
Thank you,
for
Shannon.
us.
Thank you, Elaine.
And we're working on that, so. we
This
got
is the prototype
today.
bench for Constitution Square. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Shannon, you got some items of business.
I do. All right, I need approval of the order to set the salaries for the elected officials according to House Bill 810.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
Make that second.
All right, motion by Magistrate Bodner, second by Magistrate Gay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
Okay. And the next item is the training incentives for County Clerk McCoy, Jailer Wolford, Judge Bottom, and Magistrates Ellis, Sleeper, Harmon, Cullen, and Gay.
All right.
I'm the only one and a half
Yeah.
hours. I gotta say one and a quarter, I think. One
Are
and a
you
quarter.
kidding me?
One and a quarter. I missed something.
I
don't know what it was.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
Next time.
Do we have a motion to approve the incentive payments for those listed?
I make the motion.
Magistrate Bodner, second by Magistrate Sleeper. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Well, I'm heartbroken for Paul.
I am, I'm safe.
That's all I have.
Okay.
I'm gonna work on that.
Do you want to share anything about
Do
the
you know how to
audit?
track that?
Oh, excuse me.
Do you know how to track it?
Oh,
I don't mean to put you on the spot, but if you just want
Yes,
to,
I knew I was
We-
short.
that we're done with it, yeah.
Yes, we're finished with our 2024 audit. We had 7 findings, but they were all repeats from the 2023. So we will work on responses for those.
Nothing new,
Nothing new.
just, yeah, repeat findings, so. But we're done.
It's
Woo-hoo!
It's over.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, hallelujah, it's great, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Okay, magistrate reports, Magistrate Ellis, would you like to go first today?
All right, thank you, Judge. Really excited about the DCA proclamation. Please, if you haven't had an opportunity to read it, do so. We had a circumstance 6 weeks or so ago, I think I mentioned this briefly at the last meeting, where a very untoward circumstance took place on the battlefield. So significant that state laws were broken. There was a hunt for deer, and it was such trauma for folks in the area and folks who believe in abiding by the law that we have gone to State Representative Elliott, and he has introduced House Bill 328 to make sure that there is not hunting on the battlefield. It just can't happen again, so I'll keep you updated on that through other legislative
You said House
reports.
Bill 328?
328,
Okay.
yes. If you have not signed up for the pipeline meeting on the 18th, a week from today, we're all well advised to be part of that. It's a reasonably nice dinner at the country club, and it's representatives of pipelines and other forms of energy. We have 5 80-plus-year-old pipelines. Kendall, are you aware of this? It's the ones that go right there by Chick-fil-A, and there are so many negative circumstances about them being 80 years old and what might be piped through them that there was a battle 8 or 9 years ago over it, and we prevailed. Sludge that would come from near the Great Lakes and ought to go out the Great Lakes rather than down through to the Gulf of America is what stopped when Boyle County was successful in plugging that from ever happening. It could make Harrington Lake the next Dead Sea for the rest of eternity. I'm sure they're not going to go into that, but representatives of that company were there for the past 3 years that I've gone, and that's the one where I brought up the fact that the pipelines were tagged recently for some reason that is still unknown, but it just alerted me that we have to be vigilant about that ever coming up again. We just mentioned the bench dollars. We talked about the building ordinances. Tomorrow, hopefully, we're all going to Frankfurt for the legislative day. That is a critical, critical day. The judge and I are going to be involved in a couple of other things, but we will definitely be.
Excuse me.
Fascinating, and it was mentioned at the conference last week, the judges' conference at Griffin Gate, with some humor, if you caught it. Stivers mentioned that he's 62 or 63 years old, and that he might be just a little bit compromised on a piece of legislation that's in the hopper called the homestead exemption, because at very minimum, if it were to pass, for those of us who might have reached 65 or so, it would mean that your taxes on your home, as long as you're dwelling, would not go up again in your lifetime. Well, that's the balloon that you squeeze over here, and anybody under 65 is going to see an increase in their taxes. So I'm sure there will be controversy on it. My opinion of what's going to happen with it, even if it passes, it's a constitutional amendment and requires 2 years of process before it's voted on by the public. And as elderly as our whole county is compared to the state, the sentiment will be there probably to have it passed, but to get it through a constitutional convention is, in my estimation, from what I've seen over the years, very, very slim to none. We have had inquiries and contacts from my constituents in western Boyle County for a European country that is talking to a bunch of my constituents about solar. I just wanted to put that down as something to alert any of the folks, pro or con for it, that might be listening or watching in the future, but I feel obligated to make sure that the public is aware and prepared for the persuasion on each side that might be coming if in fact leases are signed in my district. So that's important. And Judge, I would be remiss without mentioning the fact that woke up to celebrate my wife's birthday today. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Kate.
And she will kill me when I get home.
Well, she doesn't look a day over 29, so. All right, thank you for that. Magistrate Bodner?
Yes, Junction City Matters meeting is March 3rd at 5:30. Still having 25-30 people come. We are contacting Grant Ready Kentucky to help us with some grant writing information, trying to get someone that can come in to us and get a large group there. But I'm still working on that. I've been working with the library. The library's been awesome. I haven't called Maggie McAbrams with the Story Center yet, but we're going to try to get her into Junction City. A lot of people are really interested in getting her in there to get some Junction City history down in the books. I've been working with Christina Farrell with some adult services. We're going to start those in March. And Daniel Aiken has been just excellent at putting all of us together, and he's just been wonderful to help us out with the outreach program. And I did want to mention that the library, they had something today, but they postponed it. It's called Community Love Resource Fair. And they have a lot of booths and all around. They canceled that until next Tuesday, February 18th, and then Wednesday, February 19th. So from 11:30 to 12:30. They're a great resource. They're working with Farmers Bank. They still haven't gotten someone to contact them from Farmers Bank about having a lending library there, like they do in Perryville. So we're working on that also. And I just wanted to mention that, in honor of Black History Month, one of my favorite healthcare providers is Ben Carson. He has a book called Gifted Hands. If you ever want to read something really great, that it just tells his story about being a surgeon and about these parents that had Siamese twins. They were joined at the head, and they took them around to the doctor, and every time they went in, they said, okay, which one do you want to die? Which baby do you want to kill? Because one of them's going to die. So they took him in to Ben Carson, and Ben Carson said, I think I can keep them both alive, and he did. So it shows, I've seen pictures before and pictures now of it. So he is very gifted. He come from a background where his mother couldn't read or write, but she'd make him do his homework and said, get over here. And she said she'd just circle stuff and say, go work on that and do better, you know. And so she kept after him, kept taking his TV time away. No, you're going to do better than that. You're going to do better than what we've done. So it's a great book. So.
And while she worked 3 jobs.
Yeah, worked 3 jobs, had to give her kids up for a while because she couldn't provide for them, and then got them back. So, but now she's well taken care of. So.
Yeah, that's
but
great.
in his, I'd like to, you know, everybody to remember there's a lot of good people out there in healthcare all through our history.
That's right. All right.
That's
Thank
it.
you, Mr. Butler. Master Harmon,
No words of
do you want to
wisdom.
tell your joke now?
Huh?
No, he only told me, you don't get to hear it.
Yeah, he already said we don't get here.
I don't have anything, Judge.
Okay, thank you.
We're good to go.
Good to go.
Dan will take good care of my district.
All right, well, I'm glad you were able to make it in today.
No county taxes.
Okay. All right, Magistrate Cullen.
City taxes you don't worry about. This morning, Magistrate Gay and myself met with Director Rogers, Tim Bryant, Terry Dunn, Mark Smith, and Mo, and we had our EMS committee meeting. We talked about the chase vehicle, talked about the Stice and Harbison agreement letter, talked about House 245. Mark gave a great update on the crisis team, and Terry as well. Numbers for January were lower than what they've been in the past, but February is not going to shape up as good, unfortunately. Mo gave a great update on education, and then we talked about a few different things. One of the things we talked about was fleet management is going to look at purchasing something to help with some of the cost of these Durangos and some of the more expensive parts that we can kind of get around. So we're continuing to see our value with Tommy and our fleet management. One thing that we discussed, we kind of did like a little round robin on, was Director Rogers and EMS is going to challenge us to come out and do some ride-alongs with
Awesome.
with his department, so we can get a full understanding of their day. And so, you know, look forward to signing up and spending some time with them, and really get even better appreciation for our EMS. And I mean, heck, I would say talk to the sheriff's office and anybody else that does public service and see about us going out and making sure we spend time with them, see what their day-to-days are like. So I'll go ahead and submit that for approval.
Okay, we have a motion to submit, or to approve the EMS report. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Magistrate Ellis. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries.
I would, on his report, one of the things he didn't mention there that was also, we talked about, and it was Magistrate Cullen that brought the issue to light, is the tough week that was talked about, and making sure we do have systems in place to care for the mental health of our employees. But we, as Magistrate Cullen pointed out, we need to make sure we're doing maybe even more than what we're doing now, and because, you know, we didn't go into it completely, you know, he didn't want to give you all the gory details, but there was a lot of really tough things past week.
Yes,
that-
yes.
That our employees
I've had to deal
encounter
with.
and
Yeah.
have to deal with. And so we just want to make sure that, you know, they do have systems in place and they take care of each other, but we want to make sure that they know that the fiscal court supports them and that we want to make all the resources we can available to them. And I
Absolutely.
appreciate Magistrate Collin bringing that up.
Yeah, and Director Rogers and I talked about that Monday, so, yeah. Is that all you have?
That's all I got.
All right, thank you.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
Sure?
Yeah,
Measure
I'm all
J.
good.
You good? Okay. Measure Sleeper.
Just one thing, the Rural Heart Lung Study Citizens Advisory Board met on February 3rd at the Health Department, and the mobile exam unit is now in Perry County, and it'll be in our county in July, or probably in September, but they're gonna start advertising in July for study subjects to be part of the participants in the study, and especially they're having a harder time recruiting younger males, so 25 to 45-year-olds are really being sought, but all through the
Eliminates all those.
The mobile exam unit has very heavy-duty requirements for a concrete pad, electrical and waste management, and so we're looking for a suitable site in the county. There are maybe funds available through the research grant to actually develop a suitable site here within the county, so we might want to take advantage of that. So,
I know a spot on Main Street we can put it.
that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Measure Sleeper.
What? You got that spot down?
Okay, County Attorney, you have any comments?
I don't have any comments other than next week I'll be attending our County Attorney Association meeting in Lexington, so it's always good to see other county attorneys from around the state because they're very helpful to younger attorneys like me to want to have questions because most, the older ones have already done that before, so it's nice to make friends with those persons. I had a great friend with the Casey County Attorney. He's so helpful to me when I am in need. So, and all the other attorneys are too. If they can help you, they will.
Yeah.
So I enjoy going to those conferences, and I'll be getting continuing legal education in the process. So also, I guess the state dive meet is next Thursday, and I just say that because we have an exchange student from Finland staying with us this year, and she actually qualified for state dive. Ani Hutinen is her name, so we're really excited. She's never done dive before, and so that's really neat. So I had a daughter qualify for state in golf in the fall, and now to have an exchange daughter qualify for state this spring, so that's really neat.
That is neat.
Very good, thank you. County Administrator, do you have any additional comments?
No, I do not.
Okay. The one thing that I would like to bring to your attention is we talked about Black History Month and we did a proclamation for Black History Month. A lot of you remember Mary Sleep that worked here in our tax administrative office. For the last 10 days, she has been making a post on her Facebook page about a relative of hers and how successful they were, things that they did in their lifetime. She started with her mom and dad, and she says her dad, was a self-taught auto body person in that area. He was employed by Henry Powell, Ford Motors in Perryville. Then she went on to talk about her mother and how her mother was a woman of faith, and that's where a lot of her spiritual connections come from, is because her mom took them to church and read the Bible to them and all this. And she just continues every day. I have learned so much just by reading it. She talks about Raymond Sleep. She talks about being related to Bunny Davis. We all know of all the accomplishments that Bunny had while he was alive. She talks about a lot of her cousins. And today, actually it was yesterday, day 10, the last one that she posted, she talked about a sleep town, which is in the western Boyle County area. And
somewhere at the battlefield.
Yes, it's now owned by property, it was on property that's now owned by the battlefield. And she talked about what a thriving environment it was. They had, let's see, a restaurant, a honky-tonk, a cemetery, and several homes. And Sleet Town was there until 1931, when the last of the Sleets moved to town, which moved to Perryville. But it's just, interesting that she is able to connect with so many of her ancestors and her descendants, and to be able to relate and tell things that they did in honor of Black History Month. So I just wanted to share that. If you are interested, friend Mary on Facebook, and you'll be able to see her post, and it's interesting to hear about her relatives and what all they did, and where she comes from, because she's a very talented lady, and she worked here for several years, and I'm just happy to know Mary. Yeah, she was a good lady. And that is all I have. We attended the County Judges Conference and learned a lot of interesting things, so looking forward to the Magistrates Conference that's coming up. End of March, okay. All right, so with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion.
Magistrate Bogan.
Second.
Second by Magistrate Gay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Thank you all for adjusting your schedules today. I know it was a little bit wonky this morning, so appreciate that. We're adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.